And that is where I get stuck, and I'm not sure how to progress without further answers from law enforcement or more research into the interviews given by the Proudfoots. But I find it extremely unlikely that Sebastian left the house on his own, barefoot, into the cold, based on the fact that he notably hated walking barefoot outdoors, and dogs were unable to track a scent just hours later. If he didn't leave barefoot, then he may have left wearing shoes, but that doesn't explain the decision to leave into the cold without his phone or his Nintendo Switch. And there's also the fact that not a single camera saw him. That would suggest to me that he left in a car, but he certainly didn't drive, which means someone must have driven him. There are very few people that Sebastian would trust enough to get into a car with, and even fewer people who had access to the home. Sebastian had no contact with anyone but approved adults, so we're talking about somebody who must be very close to him, and likely very, very trusted by Katie and Chris. So aside from Seth, his father, it seems like the only people who would have access to Sebastian at this time would be his own family. And after looking through everything, while I'm not going to say that we can rule out Seth being abusive in the past, I think we can rule Seth out as a suspect in this case. Is it possible that someone, be it Katie, Kathy, Melissa, or any other member of the Proudfoot clan, spirited Sebastian away in the middle of the night to hide him somewhere? Or maybe Sebastian never made it home that night at all, since the last time anyone other than family saw him was as they were leaving dinner Sunday night. I doubt Katie wanted her son dead, and I don't think that she would stand by Chris if Sebastian was, which means that kidnapping by family is, so far as I'm concerned, the most likely scenario. But why? Chris had gotten what he wanted with Sebastian moving out of the house, so there was no reason to make him disappear on that front. Having your one child go missing while you're actively fighting for custody of the other probably doesn't help your case, so I doubt this was plan A, so to speak. The only thing that I could imagine would warrant this would be Sebastian throwing a wrench into the custody battle, and this would probably be related to the abuse by Chris. From there, I can see two main possibilities. The first is that should Sebastian testify in this custody battle, or should he be allowed to give a statement in this custody battle, well, he's autistic. His testimony would be very honest, and a very honest testimony from Sebastian would be very bad for Chris. The second is that Chris misrepresented his most recent encounter with CPS after he beat Sebastian with a belt for at least the second time, and the case was more serious than he let on. Now remember, Chris said in his interviews that this CPS worker came to the house, took Sebastian outside, and then told Sebastian, "Hey, buddy, when you're being punished, you shouldn't tell anyone. You're gonna get your dad in trouble. Don't do that. Don't report when you're being punished." A lot of you rightfully noted that the way that Chris described Sebastian's conversation with that caseworker did not sound like any caseworker you'd ever heard of, and I have to agree. So just really quick, let's go back and take a look at what Chris said his encounter with that CPS worker was like when Sebastian was 15, okay? She's like, "Oh, hey," I'm already, don't. She's like, "Don't tell me anything, but I'm gonna tell you what I know happened." And I said, "Okay." She goes, "Boom, boom, boom." She told me exactly what happened. I said, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "Oh my God." I said, "Yes, ma'am. This is how it's been." Sebastian thought by telling on me, making it sound like I was so horrible, that I was gonna get in trouble over something stupid. It was like, "No, Sebastian, you got punished, man. You got punished." And he was like, but, and I was like, "You got punished." And the lady took him outside. She goes, "Sebastian, just because you get in trouble and you get punished, you need to understand when you go and say things about people and you lie and you fabricate things and you make it sound worse than what it is, sir, you can get in trouble for that." So we had that happen, and the lady was like, "I am so sorry." I said, "No, he's just a child. He's upset is what it is. I'm okay with it. He set that back down on the dinner table and was like, 'See, eat your food,' and we went back and everything's been fine." By the way, he also said that this was the second time they'd had that specific caseworker. And here, where was it? So he shows, he makes the report. They come to the house, and the lady who comes to the house is the same lady she's had a case before. Now, mind you, he said that there was only one incident with a belt, and CPS only showed up once, but that's neither here nor there. We know he's a liar. But, so the CPS worker shows up a second time, and as we all know, social workers are always very quick to be very friendly to parents the second time they're called to that house. In case it wasn't clear, we're into the pure speculation part. So, not buying that one. We already know that Chris has lied about CPS. Why would he not lie about what happened when CPS came to the door? The only way the report from that CPS visit gets out there is if the police charge the Proudfoots and they use it as evidence in a trial, or if a CPS caseworker working out of that office were to leak it. So yeah, I would not be shocked at all if Chris lied about that encounter. It just would not surprise me. But the question then is, would missing child look better than abused child to a custody court? But just to reiterate, bring things back, reset, make sure we're all on the same page about where we are. The suggestion was that maybe that CPS visit was a little bit more serious than he let on, and he did not want the New Mexico courts finding out about it. Would CPS or the custody court be less concerned about a missing child than an abused child? I frankly do not know, and it's not a question I ever thought I'd have to ask. But also, how would that work once the case is over? I mean, does he miraculously appear back in Hendersonville and, tragically, due to the trauma and his being autistic, he goes nonverbal and refuses to talk about anything that happened, and then they just kind of send him on his way? Now, of course, I have to remind everybody that this is a hypothetical scenario that I feel is possible based on the evidence that I have accumulated and presented. My sole interest is to explain my findings in the hopes that they may lead to new avenues in the search for Sebastian Rogers. I am in no way asserting that the hypothetical scenario I described today is to be understood as an allegation of any kind, nor am I making the claim that any party is responsible for Sebastian's disappearance. By the time this video goes live, all of the research that I have compiled will have already been sent to the FBI and the TBI, as well as the Davidson and Shelby County Sheriff's Departments. I genuinely do believe that Sebastian was kidnapped, if not by his family, then by somebody else with access to the Proudfoot home. And either way, I do not see a reason to believe that he's not still alive out there somewhere. For my part, I am praying day in and day out that he is, because I know that is precisely what I would want from everyone if my little brother was missing. My little brother with autism, of whom I see so much in Sebastian, and for whom I would never stop searching, no matter what the cost.